Good evening, and welcome back to Boring Science for Sleep. Tonight, we are going to drift far away from the noise of the world above and slowly descend into the quiet darkness of the deep ocean. Imagine standing beside the sea long after sunset. The air is cool. The waves move slowly against the shore. Above you, the sky is wide and filled with stars. The ocean looks calm, almost peaceful, but beneath that calm surface lies a world that few people have ever seen. A world of darkness, of pressure, of vast silent depths where sunlight never reaches. And somewhere in that enormous black ocean, there lives a creature that once existed only in legends. For centuries, sailors told stories about a monstrous being that lived far below their ships. They called it the kraken, a giant creature with enormous arms rising from the deep, strong enough, they believed, to drag entire ships beneath the waves. Most people thought those stories were simply the wild imaginations of frightened sailors. But over time, something surprising began to happen. Scientists started discovering enormous tentacles washed up on distant shores. Strange circular scars appeared on the bodies of sperm whales. And eventually, researchers realized something remarkable. The legendary monster might have been inspired by something real. A creature that truly lives in the depths of the ocean. The giant squid. One of the largest invertebrates on Earth, with tentacles longer than a city bus and eyes the size of dinner plates. A creature so elusive that for most of human history, no one had ever seen one alive in its natural home. Even today, sightings are rare. Most giant squids live thousands of meters below the surface, drifting through the cold darkness of the deep sea. Their world is quiet, silent, almost completely hidden from human eyes. Yet scientists continue to study the clues they leave behind. Beaks found in whale stomachs, tentacles tangled in fishing lines, and the occasional blurry glimpse captured by deep-sea cameras. Slowly, piece by piece, we are beginning to understand these mysterious giants. But many questions still remain. How do they hunt? How long do they live? And what exactly happens in the silent battles between giant squid and the massive sperm whales that dive into the deep to find them? Tonight, we will explore the strange and mysterious world of these hidden giants. From ancient sea legends, to modern scientific discoveries, to the quiet, shadowy depths where these creatures still live. So before we begin our slow journey into the deep, take a moment to tell me something. Where are you watching from tonight? And what time is it there? I always love seeing how many different places around the world are quietly listening together. Now, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let your mind drift slowly downward into the silent ocean, where enormous creatures move through the darkness, unseen. This is the story of the giant squid, and the mysteries that still surround it. Long before scientists began lowering cameras into the deep ocean, long before submarines explored the silent valleys of the sea, people who sailed across the world's oceans told stories. Stories about something enormous that lived beneath the waves. In the cold waters of the North Atlantic, especially along the rugged coasts of Norway and Iceland, sailors spoke quietly of a creature they called the kraken. It was said to be vast, so large that when it rose from the depths, parts of its body might resemble islands or dark hills rising out of the sea. Old legends described enormous arms stretching across the water, curling and twisting like living ropes. And when those arms appeared beside a ship, sailors believed disaster was near. The kraken, according to these stories, could pull ships beneath the waves. To the people who lived during the Middle Ages, the ocean was already a mysterious and dangerous place. Maps of the world were incomplete. Vast stretches of the sea were unknown. So it was not surprising that sailors imagined terrible creatures lurking in the darkness below. But what makes the kraken legend fascinating is that many descriptions from those early stories sound strangely familiar to modern scientists. They describe long tentacles, huge bodies hidden beneath the water, and massive eyes that glowed faintly in the dark sea. All features that, today, we recognize in a real animal, the giant squid. Centuries ago, however, people had no scientific explanation for what they occasionally glimpsed in the ocean. Sometimes fishermen would find enormous tentacles tangled in their nets. Other times, strange pieces of flesh would wash ashore after storms. These fragments were difficult to explain. They did not look like fish. They did not resemble whales. And they were often far larger than any squid people had ever seen before. So stories grew. And over time, those stories spread across Europe. By the 1700s, the kraken had become a well-known sea monster in Scandinavian folklore. Some writers even attempted to describe it scientifically. A Norwegian bishop named Erik Pontoppidan, writing in the 18th century, recorded stories of the creature in his writings about natural history. He described the kraken as a giant animal that sometimes surfaced from the ocean depths, creating dangerous whirlpools around ships. Pontoppidan believed the creature might be more than legend. He thought sailors' stories could have been based on something real. And in a way, he may have been right. Because giant squids truly do exist. They live in the deep ocean, thousands of meters below the surface, where sunlight never reaches. And for most of human history, they remained almost completely hidden from view. The ocean depths are vast and difficult to explore. Even today, they remain one of the least explored environments on Earth. For sailors centuries ago, however, glimpses of strange animals near the surface could easily become exaggerated tales. Imagine seeing a massive tentacle suddenly rise beside your small wooden ship, or spotting long arms curling across the water before disappearing back into the depths. In the dim light of fog or moonlight, such moments could feel terrifying. And in those moments, the line between reality and legend could easily blur. Stories of giant sea monsters were not limited to Norway. Many cultures around the world told similar tales. Ancient Greek sailors spoke of sea creatures with many arms. Japanese folklore included legends of enormous octopus-like beings lurking beneath the waves. And throughout maritime history, sailors often believed that unknown monsters lived in the deepest parts of the ocean. These legends reflected both fear and fascination. The ocean was a place of mystery. Storms could appear without warning. Ships sometimes vanished without explanation. And beneath the water lay a vast world that humans could not see. So it was natural for people to imagine giant creatures living there. But gradually, science began to reveal the truth behind some of these stories. In the 19th century, naturalists began studying strange remains of giant squids that washed ashore. These animals were enormous. Some specimens measured more than 10 meters long. Their tentacles were covered with powerful suction cups, and their eyes were astonishingly large. Suddenly, the old sea legends began to seem less impossible. Perhaps the kraken was not entirely fictional after all. Perhaps sailors had occasionally encountered giant squids near the surface. A wounded squid, or one drifting upward from deep water, might appear enormous and terrifying beside a wooden sailing ship, especially in the darkness of night. Over time, scientists began to understand that giant squids live far below the surface most of the time. They inhabit deep ocean zones where very little light exists. In those depths, their long tentacles help them capture prey, and their enormous eyes allow them to detect faint movement in the darkness. But even today, these creatures remain incredibly difficult to observe. They move silently through the deep ocean, rarely seen, rarely captured on camera, which means that, even now, they retain some of the mystery that once surrounded the legendary kraken. In a quiet way, the old sailors may have been closer to the truth than anyone realized. Their stories, passed from ship to ship across cold northern seas, may have preserved humanity's earliest hints of one of the ocean's most mysterious animals. A creature so elusive that for centuries it existed somewhere between myth and reality. The giant squid. A living reminder that sometimes legends begin with a glimpse of something real in the darkness of the deep sea. If the legends of the kraken were shaped by imagination and fear, the giant squid represents something even more fascinating, a real creature that lives quietly in the darkness of the deep ocean. Today, scientists know this mysterious animal by the scientific name Architeuthis. The word comes from Greek roots that mean something like chief squid or principal squid, a fitting name for one of the most impressive invertebrates on Earth. Unlike the monsters of legend, giant squids are not creatures that attack ships or drag sailors into the sea. In reality, they are deep ocean animals that spend most of their lives far below the surface, drifting silently through dark waters thousands of meters deep. For a long time, however, scientists struggled to understand them. Most of what researchers knew about giant squids came from incomplete clues: tentacles washed ashore, fragments found in whale stomachs, or rare specimens caught accidentally in deep-sea fishing nets. Because of this, the giant squid remained one of the most mysterious large animals on the planet. One of the most striking things about a giant squid is its size. Although exact measurements vary, many individuals reach lengths of 10 to 13 meters, or roughly the length of a large bus. Much of that length comes from the squid's incredibly long feeding tentacles. Unlike octopuses, which have 8 arms of similar size, giant squids possess 8 shorter arms and 2 extremely long tentacles. These tentacles can extend far beyond the body, sometimes stretching several meters longer than the rest of the animal. At the end of each tentacle are special structures called clubs. These clubs are covered with powerful suction cups, each ringed with tiny serrated edges that help the squid grip its prey. When the tentacles shoot forward, they can grasp fish or other animals with remarkable speed. But despite their enormous size, giant squids are not fast, aggressive hunters in the way sharks are. They appear to be ambush predators, moving slowly through the dark water until an opportunity arises. Then, with sudden speed, the long tentacles extend outward to capture their meal. Another remarkable feature of the giant squid is its eyes. In fact, giant squid eyes are the largest known eyes in the entire animal kingdom. Some measure nearly 25 centimeters across, about the size of a large dinner plate. These enormous eyes are not simply a curious feature. They serve a very important purpose in the deep ocean. In the darkness, thousands of meters below the surface, light is incredibly scarce. The only illumination comes from faint glimmers of bioluminescence, tiny flashes produced by deep-sea organisms, or the faint outline of large animals moving through the water. Large eyes allow giant squids to detect even the smallest traces of light. With such eyes, they may be able to notice something enormous approaching from far away. And in the deep ocean, there is one predator large enough to concern them: the sperm whale. We will return to that silent deep-sea rivalry later. For now, it is enough to know that giant squids live in an environment where seeing even the faintest movement can mean the difference between life and death. The body of the giant squid is also uniquely designed for deep-sea living. At the center of the animal is the mantle, a long, muscular structure that contains most of its internal organs. The mantle works like a powerful pump. By drawing water in and forcing it out through a narrow funnel, the squid can move through the water using a form of jet propulsion. This allows the giant squid to glide slowly through the deep ocean. Although it can move quickly when necessary, it usually drifts calmly through the dark water. Two triangular fins extend from the end of the mantle. These fins help the squid maintain balance and direction as it moves. They also allow gentle, controlled motion through the quiet depths. Like other squids, giant squids also possess a beak. Hidden at the center of the arms, the beak resembles the curved beak of a parrot. It is sharp and powerful, capable of tearing apart prey once it has been captured by the tentacles. The beak leads to a feeding structure called the radula, a ribbon-like tongue covered with tiny teeth that helps grind food before it enters the digestive system. Despite its impressive size and unusual anatomy, the giant squid is still part of a group of animals known as cephalopods. This group also includes octopuses, cuttlefish, and smaller squid. Cephalopods are famous for their intelligence and their ability to adapt to complex environments. Although giant squids are difficult to study directly, scientists believe they share many traits with their smaller relatives. They likely possess well-developed nervous systems and sophisticated behaviors. Their skin may also contain specialized cells that help them change color slightly, blending into the darkness of the deep sea. But perhaps the most mysterious part of giant squid biology is how little we truly know about them. Even today, much of their life remains hidden. Where exactly they spend most of their time, how often they reproduce, how long they live, these questions are still being explored. Because giant squids inhabit depths that are extremely difficult for humans to reach, direct observation is rare. Only in recent decades have scientists managed to capture images and video of giant squids alive in their natural environment. For centuries, these animals existed almost entirely in the realm of rumor and scattered evidence. And even now, they remain elusive. Some researchers believe that giant squids may spend most of their lives drifting slowly through the deep ocean, following currents and searching for food in the silent darkness. Others suspect that they may migrate vertically through the water column, moving closer to the surface at night before returning to deeper waters during the day. The truth may be somewhere in between. What we do know is that the giant squid represents one of the most extraordinary examples of life adapting to the extreme conditions of the deep ocean. A creature of immense size, with enormous eyes, long tentacles, and a life lived mostly in darkness. It is not a monster in the way ancient sailors imagined, but it is still something remarkable. A real animal that, even in the modern age of satellites and submarines, continues to move quietly through one of the most mysterious environments on Earth. A giant of the deep sea, seen only rarely, but never entirely forgotten. To understand the giant squid, we must first understand the world it lives in, because the deep ocean is not simply a darker version of the sea we see from the surface. It is an entirely different environment, a place of darkness, cold, pressure, and silence that stretches for thousands of meters below the waves. Most people imagine the ocean as a place filled with light and movement, sunlight sparkling across blue water, fish darting through coral reefs, waves rolling towards sandy beaches. But that bright, lively ocean is only a thin layer at the very top. Below it lies a vast vertical world, and as you descend deeper into that world, everything begins to change. The first major layer of the deep ocean is known as the mesopelagic zone. Sometimes scientists call it the twilight zone. It begins roughly 200 meters below the surface and extends down to about 1,000 meters. In this region, sunlight becomes faint and scattered. The ocean water turns darker shades of blue, then indigo. Shapes become harder to see. Colors fade away. By the time you reach the lower part of this zone, sunlight is almost gone. Only the faintest traces remain. For many deep-sea animals, this twilight zone is where life begins to take on strange new forms. Many fish here have enormous eyes to gather as much light as possible. Others produce their own light through bioluminescence, glowing softly in the darkness. Small flashes appear and vanish like distant stars drifting through the water. For animals like the giant squid, this zone may be part of their vertical range. Some scientists believe giant squids occasionally move through the mesopelagic zone while hunting or traveling through the deep ocean. But their true home lies deeper still. Far below the twilight zone is the bathypelagic zone. This region begins around 1,000 meters below the surface and extends down to roughly 4,000 meters. Here, sunlight disappears completely. The ocean becomes almost entirely black. If you were standing there suspended in the water, you would see nothing. No sunlight, no horizon, only darkness in every direction. In this silent world, the creatures that live there must rely on other senses. Some detect vibrations in the water. Others sense faint electrical signals produced by nearby animals. Many use bioluminescent light to communicate, hunt, or confuse predators. For giant squids, this darkness is a natural advantage. Their enormous eyes allow them to detect even the faintest glow in the water. A distant shimmer of bioluminescent plankton, the slow movement of a fish, or perhaps the approach of a massive predator. But darkness is only one challenge of the deep ocean. Another is pressure. Water is heavy, very heavy. At sea level, the pressure around us is about 1 atmosphere, the weight of the air pressing gently against everything on Earth. But underwater, pressure increases quickly as you descend. Every 10 meters of depth adds another atmosphere of pressure. That means that at 1,000 meters, the pressure is already around 100 times greater than at the surface. At 3,000 meters, where giant squids are often believed to live, the pressure may reach 300 atmospheres. That is like having hundreds of tons pressing down on every square meter of your body. For humans, such pressure would be fatal. But deep-sea creatures are built differently. Their bodies are adapted to withstand these crushing conditions. Instead of rigid bones or air-filled cavities, many deep-sea animals have soft, flexible tissues that compress without damage. The giant squid is no exception. Its body is largely composed of soft muscle and fluid-filled tissues, allowing it to move comfortably through deep water without being harmed by the immense pressure. Another feature of the deep ocean is the temperature. Far below the surface, the water becomes very cold. Temperatures often hover around 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. This cold environment slows metabolism for many animals. Movements become slower. Energy must be conserved carefully. For a giant squid drifting through the bathypelagic zone, life may be a quiet and patient experience. Instead of constant movement, it may glide slowly through the water, its long arms trailing gently behind it, waiting for prey to appear in the darkness. This quiet environment also means that encounters between animals can be rare. The deep ocean is enormous, and food can be scarce. Predators and prey may drift for long periods before crossing paths. When they do meet, however, the encounter can be sudden and dramatic. A flash of tentacles, a swirl of movement, then silence again. One of the most fascinating aspects of deep ocean life is how animals adapt to this extreme environment. Some fish have transparent bodies. Others have long, delicate fins that allow them to hover, almost motionless in the water. Many species produce their own light. In the bathypelagic zone, glowing organs are surprisingly common. Some animals create tiny points of light along their bodies. Others produce sudden bursts of brightness to startle predators. And some, like certain squid species, release glowing clouds of bioluminescent fluid as a form of defense. The giant squid itself is not strongly bioluminescent, but it moves through a world filled with these flashes of living light. Imagine drifting through a silent black ocean, where small sparks appear and vanish in the distance, where strange creatures glide slowly through the dark, where the only sounds are the faint movements of water. It is a world that feels almost like outer space. In fact, many scientists say that the deep ocean is one of the most alien environments on our own planet. And yet it is here that the giant squid thrives, hidden among the immense layers of water, moving quietly between the twilight zone and the deeper bathypelagic darkness, avoiding predators, searching for prey, and living a life almost completely unseen. For centuries, humans could only imagine what existed in these depths. Even today, despite modern technology, we have explored only a tiny fraction of the deep ocean. The giant squid remains one of its most mysterious inhabitants, a creature perfectly adapted to a world of darkness and pressure, a world where sunlight never reaches, a world where life moves slowly through silent water, and where enormous shadows drift through the deep. One of the most astonishing features of the giant squid is something you might not expect at first glance. Not its tentacles, not its size, but its eyes. Among all known animals on Earth, the giant squid possesses the largest eyes ever recorded in the animal kingdom. Each eye can grow to nearly 25 centimeters in diameter, about the size of a large dinner plate. To imagine this more clearly, picture a human eye enlarged until it is as wide as your entire hand, or even larger. These enormous eyes sit on either side of the squid's head, dark and reflective, quietly observing the deep ocean around them. At first, this might seem like an unusual trait. Why would an animal living in darkness need such large eyes? But when we look more closely at the environment where giant squids live, the answer begins to make sense. The deep ocean is a world where light is extremely scarce. Below 1,000 meters, sunlight disappears completely. In these depths, the ocean is almost entirely black. The only light that remains comes from two sources. The first is bioluminescence, the faint glow produced by deep-sea organisms. The second source is the rare shimmer of light reflecting off large moving animals. In such an environment, vision becomes a challenge. Most animals that live in the deep sea develop special adaptations to help them detect even the faintest traces of light. For the giant squid, evolution took this adaptation to an extraordinary extreme. Its enormous eyes allow it to gather far more light than the eyes of most other animals. In simple terms, larger eyes mean larger lenses, and larger lenses can capture more photons, the tiny particles that make up light. Even when the light is incredibly dim, giant squid eyes can detect subtle changes in brightness. This ability may allow them to notice distant flashes of bioluminescence or the faint shadows of moving creatures. Scientists believe these giant eyes play a crucial role in one of the most important tasks for any deep-sea animal, detecting predators. And for the giant squid, there is one predator that stands above all others: the sperm whale. Sperm whales are the largest toothed predators on Earth. They are also expert deep divers, capable of descending more than 2,000 meters beneath the surface in search of food. Their favorite prey includes giant squid. Evidence of these encounters can often be seen on the whales themselves. Many sperm whales carry circular scars across their skin. These marks match the shape of the suction cups found on giant squid tentacles. They are the silent evidence of deep-sea battles that take place far below human sight. When a sperm whale dives into the darkness, the water around it begins to glow faintly. This happens because the whale's massive body disturbs tiny bioluminescent organisms floating in the ocean. As the whale moves, these organisms emit brief flashes of light. Imagine a giant shape moving silently through black water, leaving faint trails of glowing sparks behind it. For a giant squid, detecting those distant flashes could be the earliest warning that danger is approaching. Researchers believe that the enormous eyes of the giant squid may be specifically adapted to detect this kind of signal. Even from far away, the squid might notice the subtle disturbance of glowing plankton. a faint shimmer in the darkness, a sign that something very large is moving nearby. In the silent depths of the ocean, such early warning could mean the difference between escape and capture. Another advantage of these large eyes is their ability to detect contrast. Even when there is almost no light at all, large eyes can still detect faint silhouettes moving through the water. This allows giant squids to sense approaching prey or predators. Interestingly, not all large marine animals have eyes of this size. Even the massive sperm whale, which hunts giant squid, has much smaller eyes relative to its body. This suggests that the giant squid's enormous eyes are a very specific adaptation for the deep sea. They are perfectly suited for a life spent in near total darkness. But there is also something strangely beautiful about these eyes. When preserved specimens of giant squid are examined by scientists, the eyes appear glossy and dark, almost like polished glass. They seem to reflect the dim light around them. In life, these eyes likely scan the dark water slowly and patiently, watching for movement in a world where almost nothing can be seen. Imagine drifting through the deep ocean. The water around you is cold and silent. There is no sunlight, no horizon, only darkness stretching in every direction. In that darkness, a giant squid moves quietly, its long arms floating behind it, and on either side of its head, two enormous eyes gaze outward into the Black Sea, waiting, watching, searching for the faintest flicker of light. In a world where visibility is almost non-existent, these remarkable eyes allow the giant squid to navigate its mysterious home. They are not just large, they are one of the most extraordinary examples of how life adapts to extreme environments. A reminder that even in the deepest darkness of the ocean, evolution has found ways to see. For a creature so large, the giant squid is surprisingly difficult for humans to observe. In fact, for most of human history, no one had ever seen a giant squid alive in its natural environment. People knew that something enormous lived in the deep ocean. Sailors told stories. Strange tentacles sometimes appeared tangled in fishing nets. And occasionally, the bodies of enormous squids washed ashore after storms. But direct encounters were incredibly rare. The ocean is vast, and the depths where giant squids live are even more difficult to reach. Unlike whales or dolphins that surface to breathe, giant squids spend nearly their entire lives far below the ocean's surface. Many scientists believe they typically inhabit depths between 300 meters and more than 1,000 meters, and possibly even deeper. At these depths, sunlight disappears completely. The water becomes dark, cold, and quiet. And for humans, reaching those depths requires special equipment, deep-sea submersibles, remotely operated vehicles, or specially designed research cameras. For centuries, none of these technologies existed. So for a long time, giant squids remained creatures known mostly through fragments of evidence. One of the most common ways scientists first encountered giant squids was through strandings. Sometimes, after storms or unusual ocean conditions, the bodies of large squids would wash ashore along distant coastlines. These strandings were often the first opportunity researchers had to examine the animals up close. Early naturalists were fascinated by these discoveries. Some specimens measured more than 10 meters long. Their tentacles were lined with powerful suction cups, and their enormous eyes seemed almost unreal. But there was a problem. Most stranded giant squids were already dead, and often badly damaged. Their soft bodies deteriorate quickly once they reach the surface. As a result, early scientists struggled to reconstruct what the living animal actually looked like. The deep ocean kept its secrets well. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, reports of giant squids continued to appear occasionally. Fishing vessels sometimes hauled up strange, enormous squid by accident. Whalers reported finding large squid remains in the stomachs of sperm whales, but sightings of living animals remained extremely rare. Part of the difficulty comes from the squid's deep-water habitat. The ocean is divided into layers, and giant squid seem to spend much of their time in the darker regions far below the surface. These areas are not easy for humans to explore. Even today, most deep-sea expeditions rely on robotic cameras and specialized research vessels. Another challenge is that giant squids appear to be naturally elusive. Unlike some animals that travel in large groups or migrate in predictable patterns, giant squids seem to live solitary lives. They move quietly through the water, often drifting slowly rather than swimming actively. In the vastness of the deep ocean, an individual squid could pass through enormous areas without ever encountering a human-made camera. Even modern technology struggles with this challenge. Deep-sea cameras can observe small regions of water for hours or days at a time, but the ocean itself covers more than 70% of Earth's surface, and most of that ocean remains unexplored. To put it into perspective, scientists often say that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the deep ocean. In such a huge and mysterious environment, it is not surprising that giant squids remain difficult to find. For many years, scientists wondered whether they would ever capture clear images of a living giant squid in its natural habitat. That moment finally arrived only in the 21st century. After decades of effort, researchers managed to film a giant squid alive in the deep ocean using specialized deep-sea cameras. The footage revealed something remarkable. Instead of a terrifying sea monster, the animal appeared graceful and almost delicate. Its long arms moved slowly through the water. Its body glided quietly in the darkness, and its enormous eyes reflected the faint light of the camera. For the first time, people could see how a giant squid truly moved in its natural world. But even after this breakthrough, encounters remain rare. Deep-sea cameras may record countless hours of empty water before capturing even a brief glimpse of the elusive animal. In some cases, scientists deploy baited cameras designed to attract predators. The faint scent of food drifting through the water can draw curious animals into view. Sometimes a giant squid appears for a few moments, then disappears again into the darkness. These brief encounters remind us just how little we know about life in the deep sea. The giant squid is not a myth. It is real. Yet it lives in a place that remains one of the least explored environments on Earth. Thousands of meters below the waves, where sunlight never reaches, where pressure is immense, and where the water stretches endlessly in every direction. In that quiet world, the giant squid moves almost unnoticed, a creature large enough to inspire ancient legends, yet so hidden that even modern science catches only occasional glimpses. Perhaps that is part of what makes the giant squid so fascinating. Even in an age of satellites, submarines, and advanced cameras, the deep ocean still holds mysteries. And somewhere in those silent depths, enormous tentacles drift slowly through the dark water, unseen by human eyes. A reminder that the ocean remains a place where legends can still begin with something real. For centuries, the giant squid lived somewhere between legend and reality. Scientists knew the animal existed. Pieces of evidence had been collected for generations, tentacles caught in fishing nets, enormous bodies washed ashore after storms, and the unmistakable beaks found deep inside the stomachs of sperm whales. But despite all of this evidence, there was one thing that had remained missing for a very long time. No one had ever seen a giant squid alive in its natural habitat. Every illustration, every museum display, and every scientific description had been based on animals that were already dead. For an animal that could grow longer than a bus, this was remarkable. It was as if one of the largest creatures on Earth had managed to remain hidden from direct observation. But in the early 2000s, that began to change. a group of Japanese researchers decided to attempt something that many scientists had long considered almost impossible. They wanted to film a living giant squid in the deep ocean. Leading this effort was Dr. Tsunemi Kubodera, a marine biologist at Japan's National Science Museum. Kubodera and his colleagues had spent years studying squid and deep-sea ecosystems. They understood that the key challenge was not simply finding the squid, but reaching the depths where it lived. The deep ocean is one of the most difficult environments for exploration. Water pressure increases dramatically with depth. Temperatures drop close to freezing, and sunlight disappears entirely. Traditional cameras and equipment often fail under these conditions. To succeed, the researchers needed specialized technology designed specifically for deep-sea exploration. Their solution involved deploying deep-sea camera systems far below the surface. These cameras were attached to long lines and equipped with bait to attract predators. The bait would release scent into the surrounding water, slowly spreading through the darkness. If a giant squid happened to be nearby, it might investigate. But even with this strategy, success was far from guaranteed. The ocean is enormous. The animals are rare, and cameras can only observe a tiny portion of the deep sea at any given moment. For months, and then years, the researchers continued their attempts. Finally, in 2004, something extraordinary happened. A camera deployed deep in the Pacific Ocean recorded a large squid attacking the bait. The images were not perfect, but they showed something remarkable, a living giant squid reaching out with its long tentacles. For the first time in history, scientists had captured photographs of the creature alive in the deep sea. It was a historic moment. Yet, the images were still limited. They showed only fragments of the animal during the encounter. Researchers continued searching, hoping to capture clearer footage. Nearly a decade later, they succeeded again. In 2012, another Japanese-led expedition managed to film a giant squid swimming in its natural environment. This time the footage was far more detailed. Using advanced submersible technology and specially designed cameras, the team descended into the deep ocean. Their cameras recorded the squid moving gracefully through the dark water. Instead of the terrifying monster imagined in ancient legends, the animal appeared almost elegant. Its long tentacles drifted gently through the water. Its body pulsed slowly as it moved, and its enormous eyes reflected the faint lights of the research equipment. The footage revealed something else as well. The giant squid was not an aggressive, chaotic creature. It moved with calm, deliberate motions, almost like a silent traveler drifting through an endless night. For scientists who had spent decades studying the species, this moment was deeply meaningful. It provided the first real glimpse into how the giant squid behaves in the wild. But it also reminded researchers just how difficult deep-sea exploration can be. Capturing those few minutes of footage required years of planning, specialized equipment, and a great deal of patience. Exploring the deep ocean is similar in many ways to exploring outer space. Both environments are remote, hostile, and difficult to reach. In both cases, researchers rely on advanced technology to observe places humans cannot easily go. Deep-sea submersibles, remotely operated vehicles, and specialized cameras have opened new windows into these hidden worlds. With each new expedition, scientists learn a little more about the animals that inhabit the deep ocean. Sometimes they discover entirely new species. Other times they observe familiar animals behaving in ways no one had seen before. The giant squid remains one of the most fascinating subjects of this research. Despite the progress made in recent years, encounters are still rare. Most giant squids live their entire lives far below the reach of human observation. They drift through deep water, hunting, avoiding predators, and moving through the silent ocean without ever encountering a research camera. Yet thanks to these pioneering expeditions, we now know something that earlier generations could only imagine. The giant squid is not merely a legend or a myth. It is a living animal, one that glides through the deep ocean with quiet grace. A creature that spent centuries hidden from view until technology finally allowed us to see, for the first time, the silent giant of the deep. The giant squid is not only remarkable because of its size, its body structure is also one of the most unusual designs found anywhere in the animal kingdom. At first glance, the animal may appear simple, just a long body with many arms. But when scientists look more closely, they discover an intricate collection of features perfectly suited for life in the deep ocean. Every part of the giant squid's body plays a role in helping it survive in darkness thousands of meters below the surface. One of the most fascinating features is hidden right at the center of its arms. This is the beak. The beak of a giant squid looks surprisingly similar to the beak of a parrot. It is curved, sharp, and extremely strong. Unlike the soft tissues that make up most of the squid's body, the beak is made from a hard material called chitin, which allows it to cut and tear through prey. When the squid captures a fish or another animal with its tentacles, it pulls the prey toward the center of its arms. There, the beak begins the work of breaking the prey apart. The edges of the beak close together like powerful scissors. Behind the beak lies another remarkable structure called the radula. The radula is sometimes described as a kind of tongue covered in tiny teeth. As the beak tears the prey into smaller pieces, the radula helps grind the food before it moves into the squid's digestive system. This combination of beak and radula makes the giant squid an efficient predator, capable of processing food quickly, even in the cold waters of the deep sea. But the squid's feeding system would not work without its most famous feature, its tentacles. Giant squids possess 10 limbs in total. 8 of these are shorter arms, arranged around the mouth. The other 2 are the much longer feeding tentacles. These tentacles are the squid's primary hunting tools. Each one can extend suddenly outward to capture prey. At the ends of the tentacles are specialized structures known as tentacle clubs. These clubs are lined with rows of suction cups. But these are not smooth suction cups like those found on many octopuses. The suction cups of a giant squid contain toothed rings. Each ring is lined with tiny serrated edges that help the squid maintain a powerful grip. When a squid captures prey, or when it defends itself against a predator, these suction cups can clamp tightly onto surfaces. They can even leave circular scars on the skin of large animals like sperm whales. Scientists studying whales often find these scars, evidence of encounters that occurred far below the ocean's surface. The tentacles themselves are surprisingly flexible. They can coil, extend, and twist in many directions. This flexibility allows the squid to control its movements with remarkable precision. Another fascinating aspect of the giant squid is its nervous system. Like other cephalopods, giant squids possess a relatively advanced nervous system compared to many other invertebrates. Their brains are large and complex. In fact, cephalopods are considered among the most intelligent invertebrates on Earth. Octopuses, for example, are known for their problem-solving abilities and curious behavior. While giant squids are more difficult to study, scientists believe they share many neurological traits with their relatives. Their nervous systems allow them to coordinate the movement of multiple arms and tentacles simultaneously. Imagine controlling 10 flexible limbs at once, each capable of moving independently. The squid's nervous system makes this possible. Signals travel rapidly through nerve fibers, allowing the squid to respond quickly to movement in the water. This coordination becomes especially important during hunting or escape. Even in darkness, the squid must react instantly to changes around it. The squid's body shape also contributes to its movement. At the center of the body lies the mantle, a long muscular structure that houses most of the squid's internal organs. The mantle plays a key role in how the squid moves through the water. By drawing water into the mantle cavity and then forcefully expelling it through a narrow funnel, the squid produces jet propulsion. This method of movement allows the squid to glide through the water with surprising speed. For gentle travel, the squid uses the fins at the end of its mantle to steer and maintain balance. But when speed is required, the jet propulsion system can propel the squid forward quickly. It is a simple yet powerful form of movement. In the still darkness of the deep ocean, this quiet propulsion allows the squid to move efficiently without creating too much disturbance in the water. Another interesting feature of the giant squid's anatomy is its soft, flexible body. Unlike animals with rigid skeletons, the squid's body is largely composed of muscle and fluid. This design allows it to withstand the immense pressure of deep water. Rigid structures might collapse under such pressure, but flexible tissues can compress and adjust without breaking. In this way, the giant squid's anatomy is perfectly suited to its environment. Every structure, from the massive eyes to the powerful tentacles, from the sharp beak to the jet-propelled mantle, works together to help the animal survive in one of the most extreme habitats on Earth. When scientists examine the anatomy of the giant squid, they see not just an unusual creature, but an elegant example of adaptation. A body shaped by millions of years of evolution. A creature designed for life in darkness. A silent hunter of the deep ocean. And even now, despite everything we have learned, many aspects of its biology remain mysterious. The giant squid still keeps many secrets hidden within the quiet depths of the sea. When most people hear the words giant squid, they imagine a single mysterious creature drifting through the deep ocean. But the giant squid is not alone. It belongs to a much larger family of animals known as cephalopods, a remarkable group that includes squids, octopuses, and cuttlefish. Cephalopods are among the most fascinating creatures in the ocean. They are known for their intelligence, their flexible bodies, and their ability to adapt to a wide range of environments. Some species are tiny, no larger than a person's thumb. Others grow into some of the largest invertebrates that have ever lived. The giant squid, belonging to the genus Architeuthis, is only one member of this extraordinary group. Another even more mysterious relative is the colossal squid. The colossal squid, scientifically known as Mesonica teuthis hamiltoni, lives in the icy waters of the Southern Ocean near Antarctica. While the giant squid may be longer overall because of its extended tentacles, the colossal squid is believed to be heavier and more massive. Some specimens have weighed more than 500 kilograms, making it possibly the largest invertebrate animal ever discovered. Unlike the giant squid, the colossal squid possesses hooks on its tentacles rather than just suction cups. These hooks allow it to grip prey with extraordinary strength. Scientists believe the colossal squid may be an even more powerful predator than its giant cousin. But sightings of colossal squids are even rarer than sightings of giant squids. Most of what we know about them comes from specimens accidentally caught by deep-sea fishing vessels or recovered from the stomachs of whales. Like the giant squid, the colossal squid spends most of its life hidden in deep ocean waters far below the surface. Beyond these two famous giants, the deep sea is home to many other large squid species. Some are smaller but still impressive in size. Others possess strange and beautiful adaptations for life in darkness. For example, there are squids that produce bioluminescent light, glowing softly in the deep ocean. These lights can be used to communicate with other squid, attract prey, or confuse predators. Some species have rows of glowing organs along their bodies, creating patterns of light that flicker in the dark water like distant stars. Other deep-sea squids have transparent bodies. Their tissues are nearly invisible, making them difficult for predators to detect. When viewed under the dim light of a deep-sea camera, these animals appear almost ghost-like, floating shapes that seem to drift through the darkness. The diversity of squid species reminds scientists that the ocean is still largely unexplored. Many deep-sea animals have yet to be discovered or fully understood. Each new expedition into the depths sometimes reveals species that were previously unknown. The giant squid and colossal squid represent the most dramatic examples of this hidden diversity. They show us that the deep ocean can produce animals of extraordinary size. But how did these creatures evolve? To answer that question, scientists look back hundreds of millions of years. The ancestors of modern cephalopods appeared long before dinosaurs walked on land. Early cephalopods lived in ancient seas more than 400 million years ago. Some of these early relatives had long spiral shells, similar to the fossils known as ammonites. Over time, evolution produced new forms. Some cephalopods developed soft bodies and lost their external shells. This allowed them to become faster, more flexible swimmers. The ancestors of modern squids and octopuses eventually emerged from these ancient lineages. Without heavy shells slowing them down, they became agile predators. Their bodies evolved powerful muscles, complex nervous systems, and advanced sensory organs. Cephalopods also developed remarkable camouflage abilities. Many species can change color and texture almost instantly, blending into their surroundings. This ability makes them some of the most visually dynamic animals in the ocean. While the giant squid does not display the dramatic color changes seen in some shallow water species, it still shares the same evolutionary heritage. It is part of a long lineage of adaptable and intelligent marine animals. The deep ocean may have played a role in shaping the enormous size of some squid species. In the cold, dark waters of the deep sea, animals often grow larger than their relatives in warmer environments. Scientists sometimes refer to this pattern as deep sea gigantism. In these environments, slow metabolism and reduced competition may allow animals to grow to unusual sizes. For squids, longer bodies and larger tentacles may help them capture scarce prey in the vast darkness of the deep ocean. Over millions of years, these evolutionary pressures may have contributed to the development of giant species like Architeuthis and Mesonicoteuthis. Yet even today, the deep ocean still holds mysteries. Scientists suspect that other large squid species may exist in regions that have never been explored. The ocean floor contains vast areas that remain almost completely unknown. Every deep-sea expedition has the potential to reveal something new, a strange animal, an unfamiliar species, or perhaps another giant hidden in the darkness. For now, the giant squid and its relatives remain among the most impressive examples of what life in the deep ocean can become. Enormous, elusive, perfectly adapted to a world where sunlight never reaches. They remind us that even on our own planet, there are still places where mystery thrives. And somewhere in the dark waters of the deep sea, distant relatives of the giant squid continue their silent lives, drifting through the vast ocean night. Even after centuries of stories, scientific discoveries, and modern exploration, the giant squid still remains one of the most mysterious animals in the ocean. For such a large creature, we know surprisingly little about how it actually lives. Many parts of its life are still hidden in the darkness of the deep sea. Scientists have learned a great deal about the giant squid's anatomy, its enormous eyes, its powerful tentacles, its sharp beak. But when it comes to behavior, many questions remain unanswered. How do giant squids spend most of their time in the deep ocean? Do they drift slowly through the water, conserving energy in the cold depths? Or do they actively swim long distances while hunting for prey? Because the deep ocean is so difficult to observe, it is hard for researchers to watch these animals long enough to understand their daily lives. Most footage of giant squids lasts only a few minutes, and those brief glimpses offer only small pieces of a much larger puzzle. Another mystery involves how giant squids reproduce. For many animals, reproduction is easy to observe. Fish gather in large spawning groups. Birds build nests. Mammals care for their young. But for giant squids, almost none of these behaviors have ever been seen. Scientists know that giant squids must reproduce somehow, of course, but the details remain uncertain. Researchers believe that male squids use specialized reproductive structures to transfer packets of sperm to the female. These packets may attach to the female's body until she releases eggs. But no one has ever directly observed this process in the wild. The eggs themselves are also mysterious. Some scientists suspect that giant squids release large numbers of eggs into floating masses deep in the ocean. Others believe the eggs may drift slowly through deep water currents before hatching. Young squids called paralarvae are likely much smaller and live in different parts of the ocean before growing into adults. But because these early life stages are rarely encountered, the full life cycle of the giant squid remains largely unknown. Another question concerns migration. Do giant squids stay in the same regions of the ocean throughout their lives? Or do they travel long distances through the deep sea? Some scientists believe giant squids may move vertically through the water column. They might spend certain parts of the day at deeper depths, then rise closer to the surface at night. This behavior, known as vertical migration, is common among many deep-sea animals. Moving upward at night allows them to feed in areas where prey becomes more abundant after sunset. Then, as daylight returns, they descend again into darker waters for safety. Whether giant squids follow this pattern remains uncertain. Because we have so few observations of them alive, tracking their movements is extremely difficult. Modern technology may eventually help solve this mystery. In the future, researchers may be able to attach small tracking devices to deep-sea animals. These devices could record depth, temperature, and movement patterns. If scientists manage to tag a giant squid one day, we might finally learn where it travels in the vast ocean. Perhaps the most intriguing mystery of all is this: why are giant squids so rarely seen? Considering their enormous size, one might expect encounters to be more common. Yet even in the modern age of deep-sea cameras and submersibles, sightings remain rare. Part of the answer lies in the immense scale of the ocean. The deep sea covers a huge portion of our planet. It is the largest habitat on Earth, and most of it remains unexplored. Even large animals can easily disappear within such vast spaces. Another factor may be the squid's own behavior. Giant squids may be naturally cautious animals. They may avoid unfamiliar sounds or lights produced by research equipment. Submersibles and underwater vehicles often produce noise and vibrations. Sensitive deep-sea animals might detect these disturbances from far away and move away before the camera ever sees them. In addition, giant squids may spend much of their time in regions where research equipment rarely goes. Some deep-sea zones remain extremely difficult to reach. Exploration in those areas is still limited. All of these factors combine to keep giant squids hidden from human observation. They live in darkness. They inhabit remote regions of the ocean, and they move quietly through an environment that humans have barely begun to explore. In many ways, the giant squid represents something larger than just a single species. It reminds us that our planet still holds mysteries. Even now, with satellites orbiting Earth and robotic vehicles exploring distant planets, vast regions of our own oceans remain unknown. The deep sea is one of the last great frontiers, a place where new discoveries can still be made, where ancient legends sometimes turn out to have surprising connections to real animals, and where creatures like the giant squid continue to drift silently through the darkness. Perhaps, somewhere far below the surface right now, a giant squid is moving through cold black water, its long tentacles trailing behind it, its enormous eyes scanning the darkness, living a life that humans are only beginning to understand. A quiet giant of the deep, still surrounded by mystery. As our journey through the deep ocean slowly comes to an end, it is worth remembering just how far removed the world of the giant squid truly is from our own. These enormous creatures live in a realm that humans rarely enter, Thousands of meters below the waves, beyond the reach of sunlight, they drift through a silent environment that remains largely untouched by the surface world. While cities glow with lights and oceans above sparkle in the sun, the deep sea remains dark and calm. And somewhere in that darkness, giant squids continue their quiet lives. They glide slowly through cold water, their long arms drifting behind them, their enormous eyes watching the faint movements of the deep. Most of them will live their entire lives without ever encountering a human being. For centuries, these animals existed only in the imagination of sailors. Stories of the kraken passed from ship to ship across the northern seas. Legends of giant arms rising from black water. Even today, although we know the giant squid is real, much of its life remains hidden. The deep ocean still protects its secrets, and that is part of what makes the giant squid so fascinating. It reminds us that our planet is still filled with places we barely understand. The ocean is vast. Most of it lies far below the surface, in darkness that stretches for kilometers. In those depths, strange creatures move through the water quietly. Some glow with their own light. Others drift slowly through currents that have flowed for thousands of years. And among them are giants, animals so large that they once inspired ancient legends. Creatures that remain almost invisible to the human world above. The giant squid is one of those silent giants. A reminder that mystery still exists in the deep sea. And perhaps somewhere far below the waves, there are still animals we have never seen. New species waiting quietly in the darkness. New stories that have yet to be discovered. For now, the deep ocean continues to whisper its secrets slowly, one discovery at a time. And as we imagine that vast underwater world, the cold, quiet water, the drifting particles, and the slow movement of enormous tentacles far below the surface, the mind begins to settle. The world grows calmer, and the quiet darkness of the deep sea becomes a peaceful place to rest. So now, let the ocean grow still. Let the waves fade gently into the distance. And imagine the silent depths of the sea stretching endlessly below. The giant squids drifting quietly through their hidden world, far beneath the surface. Good night. Sleep peacefully, and let the soft sound of the ocean guide you gently into rest as the quiet mysteries of the deep continue in the darkness below.